Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. I have a dream team, and you better get used to this team because they are a regulars group here on Wednesday nights following Pundits Pundit. What a great show we had, Jacob Christner. Why don't you let everybody know briefly what we talked about Pundits Pundit, and then we're going to talk about this evening's show.
On Pundits Pundit, we usually talk about things that a lot of the other we go deeper into subjects that a lot of the ESPN's Bleacher Reports they say they're trying to go deeper, but we talk about it and we try to look at every side and we go honest. Like tonight, for instance, we talk about Lyle Alzado and the steroids in the '80s. We talked about Deion Sanders and his calling out of HBCUs and calling out the NFL for not going to HBCUs for the tryouts. Calling them out. We talked about that. We talked about all those types. We could talk about LIV golf as we were talking about that. We can talk about tennis, talk about anything. Women's tennis, Serena. We talk about all those type of deals. That's what Pundit does. That's why I'm over on this show so we can keep on going. Take it on over to the next show.
Right, and I know we talked about some NFL coaches with the bromance and all that. Why don't you give everybody a brief, quick description of where we went on that one?
Well, basically, it's the Jerry Jones story from a Lifetime network movie, but one of the biggest things is these owners prefer their type of coaches, especially the type of coaches that want job security. They're not going to get in the way if the owners get in the way. So they love this. Say Jerry Jones. That's why you have a Mike McCarthy. That's why you have a Jason Garrett. That's why you had Dave Campo in the past. That's why you have all these terrible coaches. It's because the owners do have an ego and they want to interfere when they want to. Then there are coaches that are not afraid to, and they're not going to hire them.
Well, I got to tell you, on tonight's show, and then we're going to get to ours in a moment, because these are really basically a carryover from one to the other. I decided I may have thrown my crew off a little bit, but you know what? Guys like JB and Rick will understand it. Jacob, you're going to understand as we continue to work together, as I threw a curveball like no other tonight. And, it definitely got a pretty good reaction from Jacob Christner, Denzel Snipes, and Jennifer Lewis, for sure, when I thought that Deion Sanders could be the next head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers down the line.
Oh, boy, his personality fits Nebraska. I'll tell you that much.
I know. But you know what, though? Again, Jacob, you're going to find out that Rick and JB know that I'm not afraid to go out on a limb and follow a hunch, right, JB?
Oh, of course, you got to.
Well, you got to realize something, though, about Deion. I mean, you got to realize about this whole situation. They have a black interim coach right now. That's the first ever in any sport in Nebraska, black coach of any sport in Nebraska ever. Right. And that's an interim coach. So it's going to be a little hard to get that over there.
We'll see.
It just is.
The only reason I mentioned is just more so because of the pundits, how you, Denzel, and Jen handled it. That we didn't see this one coming, but at least you accept the reality that I've been in the game a long time, and I'm not afraid to be a gunslinger on some topics. Whether you like them or you don't, I guarantee you react to them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you know what? You guys handled it like the pros that I know you're all about, and that's why I enjoy being on that show.
Well, and that's awesome. That's awesome. But that take right there was the Brett Favre sidearm in the against New Orleans to get intercepted in the NFC title game. That's what that take was.
And you know what? I have no problem with it. I don't care. Remember, Jacob, I'm a gunslinger, okay?
But I said that. Why I compared you to Brett Favre.
Like that, exactly. And he's one of my all-time favorite quarterbacks because he was a gunslinger. So love it. Okay, well, with that said, Jacob, now that we got that out of the way, great show with Pundits Pundit. I know next week we're going to have a dynamite episode as we're going to do every week.
Yeah.
And obviously the whole idea is Pundits Pundit before the Sports Exchange, and I have great crews on both ends. So let me give everybody first of all, Rick, why don't you let everybody give everybody an introduction for yourself really quickly.
My name is Rick Curdy, founder and CEO of the Charlotte Bats. I started a grassroots organization to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte. We have a petition on our website at www.charlottebats.com. You go in there and sign it.
All right, JB Ellis, go ahead. Give everybody an idea of the many, many hats you wear and why Sideline Sports is unquestionably one of the best organizations out there. And I know I'm living proof because I've had an opportunity to work with you. You and I played chess with this whole mess anyways. And I love the working relationship that we're developing. That's why I have guys like Jacob Christner on, Jennifer, and the rest of the group that will be incorporated into the South Florida Tribune organization on the broadcast side. So go ahead, JB, put it out there.
So, Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Facebook, YouTube, under JB underscore the program. Confidential, 11 o'clock Tuesday nights. J&J Sports Express, Wednesdays at 7 for your NFL needs. And we got a special Confidential Saturday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern at the Iowa Cubs against the Memphis Redbirds. Should be a fun night. Got a lot of free giveaways to give away. Make sure you're following at Confidential and at Sideline Sports 1. So this way you can be eligible to get some of those free giveaways.
There you go. All right, let me give everybody an overview of what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to talk about LIV Golf a little bit, Arizona style. We're going to talk about Suns owner Robert Sarver. I know that'll be a carryover topic on next week's edition of Pundit. And we're going to talk about some college football upsets. Everybody talks about what can happen on every given Sunday, but what about every given Saturday? So we have a few of them that stand out. So with that said, okay, we are going to lead off with golf. I normally don't listen to a real outrageous story, and this one is definitely it, okay? Arizona State's David Puig will make his first pro start at LIV Golf. He'll start cashing checks at the LIV Golf in Chicago. The 20-year-old Spaniard will continue to complete his degree and continue living in Tempe, Arizona. Well, you guys have done a lot of stuff on LIV Golf. So, you know what, Jacob, what are your thoughts about David Puig taking the LIV plunge?
You're going to see us normal. It's going to be a normal thing. It's because what if you're a golfer and you don't have to go to the Q school? You don't have to go to the Q school anymore to go try to make some money. And hope that you don't, and like so many golfers before that, missed the cut by one to get the card. Just to do that and everything, and you spent all your money. You're not rich to begin with, and you had to do that. What if you had a chance at 20 years old to do something like that? Guess what? This is becoming normal. It's like everybody talks about the idea in sports of you got to earn it, and I get that point. Trust me, we had one of our subjects the other night about do you want like on Basket Bros about do you want the dog in somebody or you want them, or do you like the now?
Right.
You want the dog in people, but that dog is the personality. It's the personality of the athlete. They're going to have it anyway, or they're not. But it's going to get itself to a point where it's going to get less and less and less. These athletes are getting better and better and better. What if someone can say, I've got a guaranteed contract? They now have a guaranteed contract. No one's going to turn it down. The biggest thing about it is you're now getting a Rory McIlroy that won't shut his mouth about LIV Golf. The thing about LIV Golf, simple. You don't have to join it if you don't want to, but he's obviously getting paid extra by PGA Tour to keep bad-mouthing him. Because they would have to deal to do something like that, because otherwise he would exactly take it by himself. I think anybody would take it eventually once it proves itself. Everybody's saying no right now. They don't know if it's going to prove itself. The minute it's proved itself and it gets itself some kind of gets fans, it gets all that stuff, the minute it has that, then you're going to start seeing even bigger names. You're starting to see big names now.
Well, what's interesting about this take, though, Jacob, is we've talked about the big names. The reason why I incorporated this take here on this show now is now we've taken it to the colleges, okay? So now all of a sudden a college guy is going to join LIV and to complement what the bigger names. So I like it for LIV. I've been a proponent of LIV for a long time because I think because of LIV, a lot of these PGA golfers are getting paid more money, better benefits due to the competition aspect. So,
and again, no Q school.
Right, and that too. So, but that's why I brought up Puig, because now you got a college guy, okay, joining to complement with the professionals. With that said, Mr. Opinion, give us your take on this.
Well, like Jacob said, you're going to see more names. I mean, who in the world is going to turn down like double, triple the money? You don't have to worry about getting cut. It's 3 rounds. You can wear shorts now if you feel like it now.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's just like you're going to see more and more names come. And yeah, Rory needs to shut up. I'm getting tired of him and Tiger Woods being the moral police. Give me a break. I mean,
Tiger's really not saying a whole lot. Rory's doing all the mouth.
Yeah, but Tiger said some stuff too, like this is where he's going to be at, and it's just like shut up.
He's lying.
He wants to join badly too, but they don't want to ruin their reputation and their moral grounding, which is it's like, oh, be quiet. If they could, they would join too, and
they'll stop. They'll stop the minute that Saudi Arabia becomes silent again, as far as from the media. They'll join.
I mean, it's all political, and if you want to join. If you don't. Nobody's putting a gun to your head. But yeah, if I was 20 years old, I'd join LIV too. I mean, why? I mean, it's good for them. So I don't have a problem with it. And the PGA is just terrified because they finally have competition, which they never had before. So they're very, very, very concerned about LIV because they know more and more bigger names are going to join.
Real quick before JB, here's the thing. 54 holes for the golfers. It's not because they've been used to 72 all their lives. 54 is amazing for television. For getting television, because 72 is, it's like you finally got to get to the final round. I mean, people watch the final round of Masters. They do not watch 11 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday at the Masters. They just don't. It's better for television. 54 is.
Good point, Jacob. I tell you, man, you're always spot on anyway. So, all right, JB, you've had a chance to watch Rick and Jacob. What's your take on LIV? And by the way, before you answer, Coach Dante is tuning into the show. I actually work with Coach Dante on Coffee and Sports in the Morning, one of the recent things I've had. So thanks for joining us. All right, JB, go ahead.
Listen, you can't blame the kid for taking the money. There's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
He hasn't been around. As far as the pros that are there, listen, if you're good enough to compete, you'll make money. Tiger has made so many millions. He doesn't need to take LIV's money to be fine. A lot of these other guys haven't made that kind of money, and you can't turn that kind of money down. It's life changing. Qualifying school, that's a big part of it. I don't blame him as a 20-year-old. The reason why this is going to be successful, where you look at football where they have league after league that has tried to compete with the NFL, or even another part of the year to gain traction, they don't have the money. LIV has the money. That's really what it comes down to, and it's a formidable competition to the PGA. 54 holes, it's horrible. A golf tournament is 72 holes. It's like baseball. If you want to see a guy at second base in extra innings, it's horse crap. I want to see 72 holes, and I'm not a huge golf fan. No. You know what? The people that don't like golf, they're not going to like it better for 54 holes. You're not a fan, be gone. This is the game.
Agreed.
I don't want to hear it.
Agreed with you, JB. I agree with you on that. I'm saying, do you play golf, JB?
Yes.
It's like, here's the thing, JB. I can play golf myself. I like the idea of 72. I'm just talking about this era. And it's like, this is this era of YouTube and TikTok. Everything gets quicker. These are young kids. They're getting everything in 3 minutes increments. So for the television of now, for the streaming of now, I mean, do I like 54? No, not really. Because, I mean, I'm 44 years old. I mean, Scott, you're 25.
You want to know who else doesn't like it?
Best.
Vegas doesn't like it. The bookies don't like it. DraftKings don't like it. Less holes, less chance to make money. When it's all said and done, that's a lot of money.
I'm in agreement. I'm just saying, though, by itself, this is the TikTok, YouTube world that I make fun of all the time. These 2-3 minute increments where, you take one look at Kenny Pickett in a preseason game, throw a 25-yard touchdown, Hall of Fame, but then he's dead the minute he has an interception. But that's what that is. But in that era, 54 is streaming and television with these young people. Do I want 72? Absolutely. But I'm just talking about what the reality is with media now.
Fair enough. Okay. I'm glad. I like the different perspectives on this subject, which is why I brought it up. Again, my purpose for bringing it on was I had a 20-year-old diving into the professional ranks, getting paid a lot of money earlier. And he's a pretty good player too, obviously, or a top-rated player. More power to them. Everybody's used to the big names going to this LIV. Now you're going to see more amateurs turning pro, and I think that's the dynamic part of what we think LIV can become. Because the one thing we can't lose sight of is that LIV is a team sport. I believe a lot of these guys are paired up in teams, where I don't know how much individual against individual, but I think that the long term is they're looking for it to be a team concept. All right. Well, one of the biggest trending headlines that we've noticed in the last 24 hours is Phoenix Suns owner Robert Sarver was suspended 1 year, fined $10 million for workplace misconduct. He was actually featured on ESPN's Outside the Lines Tuesday and supposedly used the N-word 5 times. NBA Commissioner Adam Silver didn't take it that far to kick him out of the league, which would have required 3/4 vote by owners to make him sell. So I guess my question is, Jacob, okay, I know you're going to talk about it next week, but you're going to talk about it tonight too. Okay. Yeah. So the reality of the situation is, do you feel that the penalty for Sarver was too weak, or should they have done it much worse?
Well, way too light. Too light. Let me say this. They said they did it because he had 5. They said the N-word 5 times. Then you have no idea how much that word just scalds me. Hate it with a passion. I want it gone everywhere. Scalds me. Hate it.
Right.
And here's the thing: when they say, "Oh, he said that word 5 times," they are on tape. There, he probably says it 5 times in an hour now.
Okay.
Probably says it while he's watching television. Probably says it while he watches Fox News. Probably says it while he's getting that. Probably says it all those ways. He probably says it while he sees the ad and flips it over, or fast forwards and says, "I don't like them." Blah blah blah. Probably says it there. So this is the biggest thing. They were saying they don't like he wasn't meaning to be racist. He wasn't meaning to be sexist. It wasn't the intention like it was with Sterling. The truth being, yeah, they can say that what they want to. The truth is they don't want that many. They don't want their owners. They don't want this normalized, because if it's normalized, everybody's going. There's going to be a complete change. They're not ready for that change. It's way too light of a punishment. But the NBA and this goes to the NFL. This goes where everything. There is going to be in the next few years a complete overhaul of ownership. You're going to see 50-50 eventually within the next 10 years, something between black and white owners. You're going to see more of the things everywhere. And I mean, they were just talking about like rodeo. There was a black, I didn't even realize this. In rodeo, they had a black cowboy that got killed, unfortunately, by his old girlfriend. But I didn't even realize, because I don't watch rodeo, that there was a black cowboy. That means there's a changed world. We're going to see these things now.
Right.
We're going to. And the biggest thing about it is these owners are scared to death of this new deal, and they wanted Sterling out anyway because he was horrible for years. But Sarver's actually made some money. He's probably made friends where Sterling didn't, so he got saved. But everybody right now is afraid of the wholesale changes that are coming. They can't stop it.
Well, there's no question, in my opinion, before I turn over Rick Curdy, that this is definitely a slap on the wrist, and you can't compare it to Donald Sterling, who, in my opinion, is the worst owner ever in professional sports. And I will go on a limb to say Donald Sterling is the worst ever in professional sports. But yeah, it was a slap on the wrist. There's no question about it. It could have been a whole lot worse. We're also getting some comments in the chat from Denzel Snipes. Boy, a long time no see. I might even consider adding a 5th person once in a while to join the crew. And they may be coming from Sideline Sports. Why not? Once in a while, we'll give them a little segment or not. Never know. Hey, let's get everybody involved. But at least I know I got the core 4. All right, Rick. With that said, okay, what are your thoughts about Robert Sarver?
They need to show more consistency. I mean, you got rid of Donald Sterling because he's a racist. But this guy, I mean, do you really believe that he said it 5 times? He probably said it 500 times. So no consistency at all. Adam Silver's a sap. I hate Adam Silver. He's a horrible commissioner.
He's a lawyer, Rick. He's a lawyer.
Yeah, I don't like him. He needs to go away. I'm a Donald Stern fan. I love Stern. He was a great commissioner, ruled with an iron fist, and you would never see these lazy players taking all these days off because they have a hangnail like Kyrie Irving. But that's another story. You just got to be consistent, and if you're going to get rid of Sterling for being a racist, you need to get rid of this guy. But the Suns are winning. They're a winning franchise. They've been doing really well, where Donald Sterling was a horrible, horrible owner. Elgin Baylor, God rest his soul, is a horrible, horrible GM. The Clippers were terrible, and now look at how good they are. And so, I mean, if this guy was like losing like the Kings were, he'd be gone in a heartbeat. So no consistency, but hey, what's new?
Well, before I turn over to JB, Denzel Snipes comes up with a really good one. We're talking about Donald Sterling, but what about Marge Schott? Boy, she wasn't very good either. In fact, I'll never forget the time when she was it Eric Davis. She didn't want to pay for his flight back to back home, and Marge Schott was a piece of work too. So, Denzel, thanks for chiming in. That one slipped through, but well, with all due respect, Marge Schott can be in a conversation. With that said, JB. You got all the information? Give us the last word on this subject.
So let's think back over the last 20 years. How many owners have been forced out of the game? How many scandals have we seen by owners?
Right.
The Panthers, the Redskins, the Suns, and I'm sure there's people I'm forgetting. Besides Sterling, who was, ridiculous. These other people aren't much better, and the stories behind it aren't much better. But you know what? It costs a lot of money to buy a team. And if you start throwing everybody out, you start to devalue the franchise because you got to find people to come buy them. And it's a money thing, really, when it comes down to. It's disgusting that he got a year and $10 million. $10 million to him is probably like $1.50 for us. So it's an absolute joke. Yeah. But, you start forcing owners out and, it devalues franchises. It puts the league in a bad light, as does this. Jacob, I think you're a little ambitious seeing 50-50 ownership.
I'm saying 10, 12 years. I'm just saying, I understand what you're saying, though, yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see it, but right now the cost of a franchise is absolutely ridiculous in any league, even in the NHL, which is by far fourth in this country. The cost of NHL franchises is insane, so I don't know.
Keeps us from buying it.
Exactly. You never know. I mean, Sideline Sports and the South Florida Tribune, we're on the way up, so we may be able to get one eventually.
Yeah. No, and you're right, JB, and that's understood. Maybe it's ambitious, but I like to be ambitious with it. It's just all I was just trying to say with something like that is that these owners, there is something coming. I mean, you got to remember, we're already talking about LeBron owning Las Vegas, and this is before he's retired. So we're talking about this. It's like the first multiple black owners are going to be in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? We're getting to that part, and it's like that ball is rolling, and the owners are they're afraid of this. Is what I was trying to bring. They're afraid of these changes with the ownership now, and so
of course, if you'd be afraid if I was coming to take your money too. I get that part of it,
yeah.
But when it comes down to it, the league has got to do a better job. I think it's disgusting. You wouldn't let your players do this. You wouldn't let your front office executives do this. So you can't let your owners do it. It's just the way it is. It's uncalled for and disgusting.
Sarver's biggest issue is how he treated women. By itself, by the whole things that he did with them and stuff like that, he was still expecting it to be Mad Men 1964. And the way that they yelled and screamed and hollered at him, they expected him to come back to work the next day like they were smiling and look pretty. Hey, look pretty, girls. That was a way horrible issue. He is way out of his element in this era.
Well, bottom line is I think he should have gotten a whole lot more, and he should have been forced to sell the team. But unfortunately, Adam Silver was going to allow him to continue. And yes, I'll double back on what Rick Curdy said. David Stern was the best commissioner that league's ever had. He took that league from tape delay into a profit builder. When you have Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley, and the rest carrying it to another level, this is where the league is, and I just hope Adam Silver doesn't run it to the ground at all.
He already has. Look at all these
but I don't hope
superstars taking days off and like Kyrie Irving. I mean, David Stern would put up with that garbage. They'd be out of the league in a heartbeat.
All right, so I want to add, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South to advertise. Call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Just want to make sure that everybody has that information. We'll probably read it one more time as well. So if you're watching us and you have an opportunity to go ahead and see us live and you're not a subscriber, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and there you go. Then you'll have all the necessary notifications we have. All right. So, yeah, I agree that the NBA is certainly the type of thing that, there could be multiple minority ownerships. And even Denzel Snipes said, you're right, it'll happen in the NBA. They are miles ahead of the NFL when it comes to things like this. And once again, Denzel, thanks for your input. All right, so let's go on to the NFL. Only one topic on this one tonight, but a very interesting one since there are some Charlotte people around. If not here, they're around the area. I got a nice North Carolina, Atlanta triangle here. Baker Mayfield, Russell Wilson lost facing their respective former teams, Cleveland and Seattle. All right, Ray Curry, I'm going to lead off with you on this. Surprise or no surprise?
With Baker, he was rusty. When NFL starts, the first 2 weeks are horrible. They're rusty. There's no timing, especially when you're with a new team. He played a lot better, but the Panthers are the Panthers. They for some reason they stink at home. I don't know why they can't win at home, but they can't. But, hey, he's a better upgrade than what we had with Sam Darnold, so I'm happy Baker's there. So the Panthers are going to struggle. That's just how it is. Russell Wilson, he played great. He really did. I'm just ashamed that Seattle booed him. That man won you a Super Bowl, and you're never going to get another Super Bowl again. So they should have gave him a good ovation. But, nope, Seattle had to be classless and boo him, and that was ridiculous. But Nathaniel Hackett goofed up. That was just dumb what he did. A 64-yard when he paid this guy over $200 million to win the games, and he let a guy hit a 64-yard field goal and missed it. So Russell Wilson did great. The Nathaniel Hackett, not so much.
Okay, JB, take a swipe at this. Hang on, Jacob. I'm going to give you the last word on this. All right, JB.
Two horrible games. Could care less about what either one of them did. They're both on bad teams. They both should have won. You know what? Russell Wilson didn't do enough because his team just didn't win. Neither one of these teams is going anywhere, And I like both guys, but the teams just aren't good enough. They're not going anywhere.
Okay, Jacob, last word.
He's completely right. Completely right. It's the biggest thing about it is the Nathaniel Hackett thing. That's just the fan, and then the Russell Wilson thing has something in common. It's the fans. Fans suck, and most fans just absolutely suck. And the thing about Nathaniel Hackett, how many people, including the media, and by the way, let me tell you this: win or lose, that thing goes in or doesn't go in. That was a terrible call, especially when you have Russell Wilson, you paying all that money. But guess what? People hit 64-yarders now, and they hit the back of the net. So we can say this: I can see why he tried it. But they were talking about 70, like that Cole, I forget his name from Cleveland, that Cole, I forget. Anyway, he hit like 72 yards in practice with net. So they're kicking like crazy now. But it was a terrible call. But I could see the difference between the similarities between the whole Nathaniel Hackett and hating on him and doing all this. They would have loved on him and say it was a brilliant thing if he won the game. And the booing of Russell Wilson, that's just garbage fans. And I bring up garbage fans how many times, Rick? A day. How crappy and ridiculous garbage fans are.
They're stupid. They're executives or GMs. When I was watching the USFL, all these idiots on these fan pages, it's not going to last. Oh my God, look at the attendance. It's terrible. They're going to close. They had they did great. The ratings were good. So, I mean, and it's like, shut up, just enjoy the games. Now you have people arguing about what's better, USFL, XFL. Just shut up and watch both. You like football, just watch it. You like NFL, watch it. You like CFL, watch it. Just watch football. Just enjoy the game and shut up.
But what's even worse? Well, what's even worse with that is the fact that you can say, "I wish you could try for 5 minutes to be like in the war room or be a coach or whatever." But the Bears, but in 2018, they tried to do it with putting a 43-yard field goal out in the cold weather for these kids, for these people that are all mocking Parkey. Not one of them came close. It doesn't matter because they keep mouthing off anyway. Even though they're shown on video, they can't do it themselves, but they can't stop mouthing.
Yep.
Yeah, but there's a difference. You, as a fan, you have the right to boo. You're allowed to boo. It's part of being a fan. I mean, yes, booing is okay. You can't take it over that line. But you're allowed to do that as a fan. You're allowed to have an opinion. I will sit here and tell you how bad Garrett Cole is, and he's a great pitcher. But I will tell you how he's not worth $40 million every day of the week because he gives up one hit in the postseason. To me, he's not worth the money. There's not a thing you can tell me until he goes out in October and throws no-hitter after no-hitter after perfect game in the postseason to have him cash those $40 million checks.
Yeah.
And he is one of the best pitchers in the game.
But
so,
there's
as a fan, you have the right to go out there and boo.
But there's opinion. And okay, boo. But there's
I can't throw a fastball 80 miles an hour. He's throwing 90-something.
Yeah.
I'm allowed
But guess
to
what? But there's opinion, but then you now, because of Twitter, which I go after there's ones that literally talk like they could. And they're mean and they're nasty and they're ugly to human beings.
So those aren't fans. Those are trolls. And those, you just got to ignore them. See, the problem with trolls are you give them any attention, they keep coming.
Yep.
Let them talk. Let them talk, ignore them, and have educated conversations like we have.
Right.
All right. Well, you know what? Before we do that, Denzel Snipes is on a roll. So I'm going to say he likes my
What did
great
he say?
beard.
I didn't see his, but what did he say?
Oh, yeah, come on. This guy, I almost feel like we have a fifth person on this one, but we'll go ahead and have a little bit of fun here with it. He likes my gray beard, number one. Of course, I don't think the missus does, but we'll have it for the time being. And then he says they need to build a team around Baker. Also, Rick, Hawks fans have become top 5 worst fan base the last 10 years. Fans can be the best and literally the worst thing in sports. So, of course, I work in the press box. I wouldn't know any better, and I kind of like it that way anyways. Fans, like I said, can be the best and literally the worst in sports. And then Denzel goes on. Fans are fickle and hypocritical. I rank them between cockroaches and ketchup street. That's pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Let me keep going. This guy's on a roll. He's definitely coming on. If I decide to go to a 5-some, he's definitely getting on here for sure.
Put him in the middle. He can be from like the Brady Bunch.
Okay. I got a lot of ambitious ideas with this show.
You'll be Alice.
Pundit in Sports Exchange, and Denzel just getting my wheels turning. It costs me a little sleep to keep up. I don't care, Denzel. Sleep to me is like a Cadillac. It's a luxury. So Bears fans obliterated Cody Parkey after that double doink.
And none of them made a 43-yarder either.
Right, and then they ran him out of Chicago, and then we got it right a lot of things, so that don't make it right or just.
None of them cast a check for the Bears either, though. So
yeah, I hated what happened. I hated the thing. I did not get mad because I actually called it. I didn't call double doink. I called he was going to miss it just because of the opening, the original when they tried to freeze him on a timeout. That was an easy chip, and he barely went over the thing. I'm like, he's going to miss this sucker. I didn't see double doink come, so no, I wasn't mad at that. I was mad that he wouldn't keep his mouth shut after the fact. I wanted him gone then, because it's like, just work, just move on, just get better. I mean, he doinked 7 of them that year. Doinked, not missed. Doinked. Okay. So that was going to be. I wasn't mad at him for it. Okay, get better, go miss it. Then you could do better the next year and go make the game winner and be the hero. But instead, he wouldn't keep his mouth shut. So that's why I wanted him gone. Besides, I wanted Robbie Gould still there anyway.
All right, hey, listen, I love all the interaction we're getting from not only the 4 of us, but Denzel and anybody else that continues to go out there and contribute. This is what this show is really all about, not only the interaction amongst us, but the chat room being active as well. And he said, Parkey's a good kicker. I liked him at the University of Florida. So with that said, since Snipes got us on that kick here about University of Florida, and like he agrees with the goal should never have left Chi-Town. We're gonna take Snipes' lead, okay, and talk about college football upsets is what we're gonna do. And let me tell you, there were some pretty good ones as well. And I kind of had a little bit of fun with it. I'm spun it a little bit, dancing around Nebraska. I'll probably make that one last. But we're going to start with this one. Appalachian State 17-14 over Texas A&M, ranked 6th, 18.5-point underdogs for App State. They collected a $1.5 million previous week. They lost 63-61 to North Carolina. The attendance at Kyle Field for this one was 92,664. College Game Day is going there to Boone, North Carolina this week. So Appalachian State, folks, the theme of the rest of this show is going to be the Sun Belt Conference because that's exactly what we have. So App State, and guess who gets to play them this weekend? The Miami Hurricanes. And I have a feeling that Texas A&M is going to be angry, and I hope the Hurricanes can bring their A game with Tyler Van Dyke because now they're going to be dealing with a mad Texas A&M team that lost to App State. But with that said, let's just keep it focused on App State right now. Think about it. You go out there and win 17-14, okay, and then you're able to pocket $1.5 million. All I can tell you, all right, Jacob, not a bad weekend's work, is it, for the Mountaineers?
Nope. People forget they keep bringing back Michigan. They don't have to bring back Michigan anymore. They keep bringing that game. But they've given some, like they did, even though like the week earlier, 63-61 with the state. It's like they do this once or twice a year. Even if they didn't win, they give a hell of a fight to everybody. And by the way, then they go into their conference, they go into their where they're at, and then they win everything all the time. This is not just some little school. They absolutely kick the crap out of everybody else. It's
That's
like
good. Hey, listen,
what?
You're right, Jacob. They are good. They're not a surprise anymore. And I'll tell you what, you brought up the Michigan game. So, Jacob, here's what I'm going to tell you. Back in 2007, when I was covering Florida Atlantic against Middle Tennessee, there was a local prognosticator asked me my opinion on the game. And I told him, because I do a lot of research, as JB and Rick know, and you're finding out pretty quickly, Jacob, that I told the guys that don't sleep on App State. The previous year they had won the FCS championship is what they had done, and they will give Michigan a game. The rest is history. They beat them. I'm not going into that, but it's just one of those things where you can find good talent on any level. And we alluded to this point on the Pundit's Pundit tonight, and now obviously we're talking about upsets. And here we have with App State as well. So
I truly believe the FCS championship is why they keep expanding teams for the NCAA champion, for the NCAA the national championship. The FCS championships have some really good football. The tournaments, the everything. I really believe that's part of the reason that because you can the FCS champion ain't going to get the money that a big like a 12 team would, or even 20 or 25 or 30 later. But it won't make the money. That'll be billions. As far as the NCAA. But I believe that is because you see some really good games in those FCS championships.
Well, I'll tell you what, and I'll let Rick and JB comment on this. Watch out for James Madison University. They're the latest addition to the Sun Belt Conference. Okay, they're going to be really, really good. And another guy who actually went from Division III, Wisconsin Whitewater, a guy by the name of Lance Liebhold, will do some very good things at the University of Kansas. Okay, now, Jacob, that isn't as outrageous as my Deion Sanders.
No, the outrageous part was people trying to put Lance Leopold over in Nebraska. I'm like, no, you got to do something at Kansas first. He was 2-10 last year, 2-0 now.
Right, there you go. So
it's like build that first. Quit saying just because you see that one. It's like 2-0, build it.
Yeah, this guy was actually iconic over at the University of Wisconsin Whitewater. I think he did some pretty good things with Buffalo, and now he took the step over to the University of Kansas. So watch out for Lance Leipold, and folks, watch out for James Madison University. With that said, Rick, take it away.
Well, so I'm happy to see a team in North Carolina, get the headlines. To me, that was a big upset in college sports. To go to hostile Texas where they love football. You play Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, and they just they played a great game, and they pocket over $1 million because Texas A&M wanted to play them so much, to make their record look good. And App State went there and they beat them. and they play great, and we're all happy. We're all excited. I have friends that went to Appalachian State, not Appalachian State. Beautiful campus, gorgeous baseball field, great team. They've been on the rise for the last 3 or 4 years. I didn't see this coming at all. So I'm really happy that they won. Exciting and good for Appalachian State. And it's awesome when you pocket $1 million and you beat the team that pays you. That's even sweeter.
Well, Sam Houston State, I think, will eventually wind up in Conference USA. They could probably use them. So that wouldn't be something that would be out of the picture. And immensely talented as Denzel goes on, you'd love to see them in a mid-major conference. I think that's potentially a possibility. JB, your thoughts on that?
Well, we've seen this before. Boise State, way back in the day. Remember when they used to go out and beat really good teams, and eventually they moved up to a better conference. So I mean, this is seen before. Good for them. You know what? Texas A&M. Oh well, play better.
Right.
That's it. Win when you're at home. There's no excuse for that. Appalachian State's a good team. Play good football. If you're in the SEC, you're supposed to be the best. Guess what? Can't win all the time. Guys are going to come at you with App State. This is their big game. This is their time. This is where they get to show everyone in the world that they are football players. And guess what? They do it time and again. So good for them. Congratulations. Jimbo Fisher, whatever. Shows
right.
what you can do there.
Welcome back to the big
show. Battery was dying. Had to do what I had to do due diligence.
No big deal. Hey, don't we all left? All right, so JB, go ahead and say what you said now that Jacob could potentially.
I heard him.
Oh, did you? Okay, good stuff.
No, Jimbo. I mean, that Jimbo Fisher is going to be Jimbo Fisher, but it's like, got to remember, guess who's 0-3 at Notre Dame? Marcus Freeman. That's not easy to coach. It is not easy to coach these teams. I like Marcus Freeman. I think he's got a great mind, but they're good people. It's like we get to the idea. It's like we get no patience. We get no anything. Who knows if Marcus Freeman can go 0-3? And I mean, I don't think he will, but I'm just saying this. What if he could go 0-3 and win the next 35?
All right, well, you know what I'm going to do? If that's the case, okay, I'm going to transition over to the Marshall upset, and then we're going to wrap it up with Georgia Southern. How's that sound, okay? Because I like the flow of where it's going. But before I do that, back to Denzel Snipes. Boise State was Western Athletic Conference. They beat Oklahoma. Then they got invited to the Mountain West. Eventually, we'll see where the Mountain West ends up going. I think Boise State is going to be going somewhere else. And Freeman is having growing pains, but he will figure it out. So with that said, I know where everything is leading here. So we're going to move on to the Marshall, and then I'm going to wrap it up with the Georgia Southern one at the very end. Fair enough? So with that, Marshall 2-0 defeated number 8 Notre Dame 26-21. The Irish are 0-3 under Marcus Freeman. He's the first coach in Irish history to go 0-3. But I guess my question to you guys is this. Did the Irish make a mistake hiring him prematurely without conducting a national coaching search? Before you answer that, though, I'll preference that Marshall did collect $1.25 million to travel and win this game, and they were 20.5-point underdogs. And I did predict that I thought Marshall could potentially beat Notre Dame on a different podcast. And the reason why I say that is I've seen them play in Conference USA, and they're one of the elite teams. So Marshall's a much better program than most people realize. So again, now they're in the Sun Belt, but I saw them play a lot of times, guys. Okay, I really did in Conference USA, so I knew how good they were. So again, I'm going to ask Rick Curdy this one first. Okay, did the Irish make a mistake hiring him prematurely without conducting a national coaching search?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they wanted him. If you have your guy, you get your guy. And the players, I mean, when he was announced, they loved the hire. They were enthusiastic about the hire. You know, they wanted him there. The organization wanted him there. He wanted to be there. If that's your guy, you get your guy. There's no need for a search. If you really fully believe that Marcus Freeman should be the next head coach and lead your team, you know, the next 10, 20 years, 30 years, who knows? And you have a shot at winning a championship. If he's your guy, you get your guy. So,
okay, Rick,
I don't think they need to do that.
Give me your comments about Marshall Notre Dame. Were you surprised at that upset?
Not really. Notre Dame, you can say what you want about Brian Kelly, and of course Notre Dame's saying all these horrible things about him. He's a great coach. He's a fantastic coach. Notre Dame was going nowhere. He went there and he made him a good team. And now he left and they're struggling right now. So was I surprised? Not really, because Notre Dame their offense is bad. They just can't score. They can't tackle. And poor Marcus Freeman, I saw his press conference and he looked absolutely befuddled and confused. Like, I don't know what else to do. So I think it is some growing pains. I really, really, really hope he does well because I like Marcus Freeman a lot and I want Notre Dame to succeed. So, but was I surprised? Not really.
Yeah, Denzel Snipes will go along with you there because he says next year there'll be a one-loss team and in the running. All right, with that said, I like leaving Jacob last because, I want to give him more time on it, JB. One thing I've noticed about you and Jacob here on for the first time is Jacob really gets you going, JB, and I love the way he brings the JB Ellis out of you. So,
JB and I get along. I wish I could have meet him this weekend. Long story on that.
Yeah, okay, but
JB's a great guy. I love him to death, and he knows that.
Yeah,
of course.
That's why. Listen, I got you paired on the same show. I can't make the face-to-face deal, but all right, JB, give me your thoughts on the two-headed monster question. Bear with me, Jacob, for a moment, okay? So
I mean,
premature, and then the game.
The hiring was fine. That's who they wanted. It's within the organization. Brian Kelly, listen, he may be a good coach, but he's a piece of garbage. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't want him within 100 miles of my team because he's not a leader. A leader doesn't send a text that, hey, I quit. A leader makes a phone call, tells his guys, listen, I got an opportunity. You be upfront. You have a little loyalty. I'm not saying don't take the money because believe me, I would never tell someone don't take advantage of getting money. Money's a piece of garbage. So I hope LSU wins no games the rest of his life. Now, as far as Marcus Freeman, it was within the organization. It's a good hire. I think they'll be fine. Couple of things. First Notre Dame game I ever got to go to last year against Toledo. First home game. They almost lost that game. They came back and scored a touchdown last drive of the game. This year they opened up against Ohio State, got wrecked. They're not as good as Ohio State. Now they're coming home after that. They're down, a little beaten up. You feel bad. You're pretty much a national championship shots is done at this point, even with the expanded playoffs. Being an independent, it's not as easy as it sounds, and their schedule's pretty weak. They go up against Marshall, and the same thing that happened against Toledo. They just get beat. They got lucky to win the Toledo game. Marshall's a good team, and Marshall took it to them. Listen, more power to them. Listen, they got to get better. It starts with the coach. He's got to get them disciplined. They're ready to go. He'll get better as a coach. I think he's the guy he's gonna be there long term if he wants to be, and I think he'll be in a good spot, just not this year.
Well, and then when you look at the numbers, again, I mentioned it to Rick, I mentioned it to you guys again for reinforcement purposes. Marshall got $1.25 million to go to South Bend, and they were 20.5-point underdogs. So good work by Marshall, but no, I'm not surprised at how they are. I know they're an excellent football program, and I saw it firsthand. And one of the things on my bucket list, believe it or not, is to go up to Marshall and see a game out there, and I hope to do that somewhere along the lines of my travels. All right, last topic of the night in terms of college.
I have one thing I wanted to say real fast on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the thing. This is the thing that happened with Notre Dame. I'm just going to bring this in the vein of the fans and the whatever. And this is not going to attack fans in this case, believe it or not. Is a lot of them love the idea of a flashier quarterback, flashier offense. That's the world we live in now. But they were winning, like you brought up Toledo last year, JB. The Toledo game, everything like that. They won in the last minute. That was Jack Cohn. Cohn. Jack Cohn, and I am just saying this, of college football is Mitchell Trubisky of college football. And this is the truth of where I bring this up. This doesn't mean bad, like some people want to make this. It is someone that manages a ball game, makes a few plays, doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, and goes along with a good defense, which Notre Dame's had for years. Goes along with a good defense. It doesn't. Like I said, Mitchell Trubisky, he's got 38 interceptions in 51 career games. I mean, I'm saying he's not making huge plays or going down the field and doing that kind of stuff, but he's not making the mistakes to hurt the team. That was Jack Cohn. And now there's no Jack Cohn.
100% right.
Huh?
100% right.
Yeah, and it's like that was Jack Cohn. Now there's fans that was like, well, we're going to get a flashier thing now. Now we're 0-2. Guess what? There's a place for the Jack Cohns, the Trubiskys, all that when you're trying to win. If you don't have the type of offense to be Loyola Marymount of 1990 of football, then you need those kind of quarterbacks that can keep a game going, that can keep them on the field, get the defenses rested and everything, and then go from the 15-yard line to the 50 before you punt so the defense can rest. Not exciting to the fans, not exciting to the ones that won 43 points a game, but it's exciting to Mike Tomlin, who's won every single season. And those are the things with that. And I've been saying, and guess what? He had Ben Roethlisberger. That's fine. But Ben was pretty bad in the last 3 years. But that's what that thing is. Notre Dame, they can go get that big flashy quarterback and then get their 40 points a game. Right now, they don't have that, and they're now seeing what happens when there's no Jack Cohn.
Okay, so Jake, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and then I want to go over attendance figures again, each of these games, all right?
Sure.
And that's this. Number one, Rick and JB asked it, do you feel that Notre Dame should have had an all-out coaching search, or do you think they did fine with Freeman?
Oh, fine. Yeah. Absolutely. They probably had this in their head from the get-go after Brian Kelly's gone. As far as Brian Kelly goes, he's going to be a terrible SEC coach. Terrible. He's going to be
Hope he wins 0 games. He is a piece of garbage.
He beat Southern. Big deal. I'm just saying, Southern got their 300.
That doesn't count. Listen, he's not a leader.
He's not a leader. He's not a leader, and he's gonna get boat raced, and he's gonna be out of the SEC probably 2 years.
So, Jacob, give me your thoughts quickly on the game between Notre Dame and Marshall.
That was where I was bringing up with that. It's like what's going on with Notre Dame right now is you have a fan base that they wanted Cohn out because they wanted the flashier guy, and whatever they wanted that. This is what happens when you don't have the offense set up for that, and then you don't have offense, and then you put the guy in. You need to have. It's not just the quarterback. You need the structure. Right. They had the structure for Jack Cohn. Now, when it's not there, the smart, manageable quarterback is not there. You lose games. You got to get a structure to do this right, and it takes a couple of years. So I think Notre Dame's going to be fine, but he's got to build a structure, and especially in a world now where it's going to be harder and harder to go get these top quality athletes, not just because of academics, but just because you got to remember this is an era of the Miamis, the Floridas, the Cals, the everything. It's like even Chicago Bears are going to a dome. Everybody's going to want warmer. They're going to want cooler. They're going to cooler the aura. They're going to want a warmer state. Everything. It's going to be harder to tell them to go to Indiana in the middle of November.
Okay, fair enough. All right, last game I want to get to. Then I want to talk about the attendance figures on each of these games. All right, we've already talked about the payouts and the score. One more. I think this one shocked me a little bit more than I thought it would. But Georgia Southern 45-42 over Nebraska at Memorial Stadium. Now, actually, former coach Scott Frost was out-coached by Clay Helton, formerly of USC. Georgia Southern.
Oh, that's not a shock.
Yeah, can you believe that? They're actually
that's
located.
That's not a shock.
Yeah, you're not.
Georgia Southern's been doing well over the last few years.
Georgia Southern built the organization, and then I got Clay Helton. Clay Helton, guess we have USC. USC is a tough thing in the first place. Clay Helton's a good coach. That's not a shock at all. In truth, Scott Frost, he got what he asked for when he left in the first place. UCF in the first place.
No question about it. Yeah, you know what? I'm glad, Jacob, you brought that up. A couple of little things for folks that don't know where Georgia Southern is at, Statesboro, Georgia. And they ended up, but here's the thing. They got a $1.423 million payout from Nebraska, 22.5-point underdogs, and they were 3-9 last year. Again, we can get to a lot of different things on this, but I want to go back to Denzel again, okay? If fans want a 63-59 final score, they should watch arena football. Yeah, no questioning. I've seen that before. Or Big 12 football, or, hey, listen, Georgia Southern are better than what people think. That's true. That's what we're talking about now. And they should be called up, honestly. So let me go back to a couple things. when you have coaches that leave big universities and they go to small universities. And one of these days, I'm going to devote an entire show to this, okay? But right now, we have to say with the trending stuff while we're going through what we have now. But there will be one down the line. So here you have another example of, in the case of Helton, leaves USC, no more pressure, and this guy could get a statue for all I know in Statesboro, Georgia, if he can have this kind of success against some of the bigger schools. So with that said, okay, Jacob, I can tell you what I've already thought about Nebraska. That's a head coaching job where a lot of guys, it'll be a coveted job. It's a Power 5. I think Sanders could be considered, but they'll cast a wide net of candidates. I don't want to dwell the entire night of Deion going to Nebraska without any real search going on. So, but with that said, Jacob, you start this one off here, okay? Give me your thoughts about Georgia Southern beating Nebraska.
It's not a shock. Being very honest, they've been doing well. Nebraska, the biggest issue with Nebraska is the fact that every single year they have themselves a chance. They get knee jerk. They're trying to bring back the Tom Osborne years. The whole idea was Scott Frost is our boy. It's like you don't do it like that just because you don't know what he is. It's a different league, different everything over at UCF. It's like you don't know what he's going to do. Like I was saying with Brian Kelly, he's not an SEC coach. He's going to get murdered. He's going to get murdered. He's a Massachusetts coach that went to the Midwest. He's good for that Midwest running football. Man, we brought up Jack Cohn, that guy. He's good for that. You go face Alabama and get absolutely mauled. That's what it is. It is what it is on that because it has to do with athletes. It has to do with recruiting. It's going to be hard to recruit someone to want to go to Indiana when Miami's calling. It's going to. I'm just sorry. It is Notre Dame, Indiana. It just is, and it's like. But you do the best that you can, and if you run into some luck and get hot and become Nick Foles, like in Philadelphia, sometimes it happens. Just stay around and see. You're just not going to do it every year, but there are coaches for specific things. There's specific areas. Brian Kelly, and he is a piece of crap. You're right, JB. Absolute piece of garbage. But he is the kind of guy that you in the East Coast, Midwest, that type of thing, a hard running type of the thing, the tough kind of football. In the SEC, they are incredibly high. They are incredibly high octane in the SEC. Incredibly. Even Tennessee, who is not a wonderful team, but they had a good win, they're high octane. And they aren't one of the greatest teams, and they are. It's like they're just gonna get boat raced. The LSU will this year.
Yeah, well, the reality is, if we want to go down that direction, Jacob, we can do that. Ever heard of Brett Bielema?
Oh God.
Well, no.
God.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to help you validate your point, which is already good. Brett Bielema.
They get rid of Lovie Smith to go get Brett Bielema. Okay, they got rid of a Nissan Versa to go get a Nissan Versa. It's going to be, and the difference is Lovie Smith can actually coach defense. It's like Bielema is the ultimate 6-5 guy, but Illinois is a terrible program. Doesn't matter if you go get doesn't matter if you get Urban Meyer.
Well, here's the thing: Bielema had a good run at Wisconsin, went to Arkansas, ate humble pie, and I agree with both of you guys. Okay, I hope Brian Kelly gets smoked at LSU.
He will get smoked.
Well, I know that's what I think he will. I think he will get smoked there, and to think you can duplicate a Southern language down there was about the most common.
And his dancing is great. I love his dancing.
Well, the dancing is one thing, but that language wasn't very good. So,
he also is trying to take Ed Orgeron's place, which that is a god. He is a god in Louisiana. It was stupid to even try.
Right. Yeah, but I guess my point is when we initially, I'm talking about the fact that you're right on a lot of different points, Jacob. Okay. Scott Frost should never have left UCF. And UCF in Florida is a great fertile recruiting ground, and there's a lot of talented ball players that come out of Sunshine State. We all know that. Why do you have so many good programs in the state of Florida? Because guys like Scott Frost, Willie Taggart, just to name a couple of people, can coach here, and everybody wants to get a job in the state of Florida. So when you look at the entire picture in itself, okay, there's no question that I think Scott Frost was over his head in Nebraska. TBD about the opening down the road. But the reality is, I like what Clay Helton's doing. And I'm actually happy for Georgia Southern that they got a lot of money and they were 22.5-point underdogs. I really am. So, Rick, give me your takes on what took place out at Memorial Stadium.
Well, I wasn't surprised. Nebraska has been so irrelevant. Ever since they fired Bo Pelini, they've been going down the tubes,
right?
Which was dumb. I mean, they fired the guy because he gets in your face, and that's not the Nebraska way to do things. Well, the Nebraska way is losing, and that's what they've been doing for the last 20 years. They're so irrelevant. So I wasn't surprised by this. Clayton Howell was a great hire. Sometimes you have to be – there's nothing wrong with being a big fish in a small pond, and that's what he's doing over there in Statesboro, Georgia. Good team, good athletics, no surprise, and Clay Howell was a perfect hire. I love his enthusiasm. I've been following his press conferences, his recruiting, very enthusiastic, and I think he's going to do very, very well there. And for Scott Frost, Nebraska kid, played there on paper, looked like a great hire, but he was just terrible. He was just over his head. And if I can make some, since you're throwing out Deion Sanders, I got a couple of people who I think would be interested. The Panthers hate Matt Rule. Matt Rule, please go to Nebraska.
What
go
did
away.
Nebraska do?
We hate you. We hate
did
Matt
Nebraska
Rule in
do
North
to you?
Carolina. He stinks. He's a good college coach. And you know what? I'm going to throw this in. Why not Urban Meyer? Is there someone you want to change the
That's a better
organization?
one.
Get Urban
Hey, you know
Meyer.
what? There's been talk about that today. I'm glad
And
you
he
brought
would turn that program around. Trev Alberts, if you're hearing this podcast, go get Urban Meyer. Forget about Jacksonville. He didn't want to be there. He wanted to be gone. He was glad to get fired. And go back to college, Urban. If it works out for Sarkisian, great. Go to Nebraska. You'll turn it around. And I think that would, if I was Trev Alberts, I'm calling Urban Meyer. Sorry.
Well, Urban Meyer is just as big of a piece of garbage as Brian Kelly is.
Well, he probably
He wins.
He's
He
an
got 3
absolute liar.
championships.
I know, you're right. But
it's all about
he's
winning.
An absolute liar, though. He's an absolute liar himself. Talked about all his bad health problems. Goes to the NFL, gets his butt kicked. He looks healthy. And then he's going to go back to the day. All he wants is a break, and he doesn't want to admit it.
Well, all right. But,
you want to win, get him.
I even threw Bill O'Brien's name into the mix. The only reason why is because he had to take over that mess out with Joe Paterno. Did all right till he landed with the pros. But you know what, though? I did hear talk about Urban Meyer's name being brought up. So, again, this is so wide open. You never know what's going to happen. But Nebraska has to be relevant. You guys even realize that they're playing Oklahoma this week and they're going to get probably killed?
Yep.
In the Big 12 matchup. All right, JB, you've been patiently waiting here. But before you say anything, Frank Solich is a pretty good coach, and he showed it when he was with the Ohio Bobcats as well. So I want to make sure we got a Frank Solich. JB, you've been patient as could be, my friend. Let it loose, Mr. Ellis.
So Miami, Florida State, UCF, irrelevant. Who's been winning? Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Notre Dame, all these teams. Look at the Big Ten. There's 4 teams better than Nebraska. You got to start small. You got to have a winning year. You got to go to bowl games. That's how you get recruits. You build. You go from a 3-win program to a 5-win program to bowl eligible. Your team starts to travel. You go to whatever the Carjack Bowl, whatever bowl you want to go to.
Where's the Carjack Bowl, Miami?
How about the Viagra Bowl? I want to see the Viagra Bowl.
And you go there and you represent your school, you get noticed, and then you start getting a little bit better recruits. Then you come out the next year, you get a little bit better of a schedule. You win a couple of more games, then all of a sudden you're ranked, and then you get more recruits. You have to build it. You have to actually win. And it comes down to coaching, fundamentals. It's like anything. Why the Giants in the NFL have sucked. Coaching has been bad. Talent has been bad. You got to build. It all comes together.
Yep. And those are, and like I said, JB, structure. If you want the big flashy offensive program, everything like that, it's like you don't put. Guess what? If you want the flashy one, you don't put Jack Cohn. But if you don't have it, you get him. And this is what people don't understand in the middle of all this. It takes a while to build that flashy offense, and it takes the right kind of people.
All right, back to Denzel Ellis in the chat room. Okay, he says, "Listen, Georgia Southern are better than most people think. They should be called up. Honestly, you stick around the game. If you stick around the game, okay, you're gonna find it again." And then Denzel continues on that, hold up, Jacob said it. So with that said, Illinois is a terrible program and they should have been. So does Lovie Smith get a pass? I don't know. I'm not going to go there. I won't hold the Jags against Meyer. They've been trashed since David Garrard's quarterback days. And of course, Denzel continues on by saying the Carjack Bowl winner gets a ski mask trophy. That's a lot. But I love to get his comments. And when you get some dynamite comments, you have to get every last one on here. Thanks, Denzel. But you will be on here verbalizing this soon enough before you think. I think we would all welcome some healthy dialogue, right, Jacob, from this guy here. Absolutely.
Yeah,
the whole idea.
Yeah, we definitely aren't very healthy either, though. So yeah.
Oh, I got news for you, and I'm going to get to my plans because I want the public to know it. But I do want to address one thing here, and that's this. When we talk about the attendance for these upsets, I'm going to talk about it again. Nebraska gets 86,862 to lose. Okay. Texas A&M 92,664 to lose. Okay. Notre Dame 77,622 to lose. And when I attended the Miami Hurricanes game last week against Southern Mississippi, I love the way the media availability was going toward Mario Cristobal, where everybody was anointing Texas A&M to be a national championship contender. And mind you, they went into that game. It looks like they went in there ranked 6th, and the Miami Hurricanes thought they were in for a big matchup. And now they're going to be dealing with an angry Texas A&M team. So you got a lot of wide levels here with college football. And I had other NFL topics I wanted to talk about, but I felt that we needed to get these things in there as well. So, and I believe we covered it well. So with that said, Jacob, why don't you give us some your final thoughts and in fact, what we do is give us your parting shots about anything we haven't talked about that you want, and then you can provide how to get a hold of anybody yourself.
Well, I said, but my parting shots that I have, this is a good thing. This is for the good deal. I had 2 really good games to watch over the weekend. The NFL games. My Bears, I'd say a little bit of an upset against the 49ers. And then Pittsburgh and Cincinnati was an absolute edge-of-your-seat barn burner. I was at a bar. Those guys, they finished the Bears game. Every single one of them were turned to that one. They were turned to that one. It was like it was ugly, but it was fun. And it's like all the bad kicking, but it was like it was hard hitting. It felt like old school ball for a minute. Just the old school 1980s, 1991, whatever football. It was fun to watch for that moment. Are either going to win this? I don't see either win the Super Bowl, obviously, but it's kind of fun to watch the old school every once in a while. Just wanted to say it was a blast to watch. It was fun to see the Bears win. Don't know how far they'll go, but that's a nice thing. And it was fun to watch the Steelers and the Bengals last weekend. And as far as where I'm at, Monday nights during the season, the NBA carousel, Megan Price. Tuesday nights, figuring it out. Confidential's almost out for the year, but it's confidential usually. Wednesday nights, Pundits Pundit, and then the Pundits Pundit, and then the Sports Exchange here with everybody else. Thursday nights, got my show with TJ Sanson called Yin and Yang, films, politics, everything in between. Get a little off sports. Sunday nights, Basket Bros, plus helping with a movie and there was other things. Long story short, not going to be in Iowa. I wish I was going to be, but I look forward to seeing you on Saturday, JB. I will still be on the show.
All right, and also just I work with Jacob on Basket Bros. I was added to that one, and now Pundits. So I'm really glad to be teammates with JB on Jacob on those, and I'm always proud to be teammates with JB. So what can I say? But that said, I'll segue over to JB. Go ahead.
JB_ the program on Twitter, Tuesday night Sideline Sports at 8:30 Eastern. You can watch it on JB_ the program or follow at Sideline Sports 1, confidential 11 o'clock on Tuesdays. Wednesdays, J&J Sports Express, 7 p.m. Here, 9 o'clock, both sides of the coin every other Wednesday at 11:05. And a bunch of other stuff. But most importantly, Saturday, 7:15, Iowa Cubs. Make sure you follow it. A lot of free giveaways. Make sure you're paying attention. Follow at Sideline Sports 1 or at Confidential.
Yeah, and JB, first of all, I forgot to ask you for your parting shots before I do that, though. Obviously, we appreciate your help on social media, spreading the content out, and we love having you on Wednesday nights on the Sports Exchange. You've been on here a long time, and I'm glad you found a home with us on the Sports Exchange. And again, for constant thanks for helping us social media. Why don't you give your parting shot as well, JB?
I'm just happy to see the Giants actually have a competent coach. They actually outcoached the other team. That's all I got to say. It's good enough for me. They had a good draft and a great first game.
Okay, Rick Curdy, parting shots, information.
Okay, well, my parting shots with Nebraska. I got so spoiled during the Tom Osborne days and Lawrence Phillips and Tommy Frazier. I mean, they were a great team, and they have been so irrelevant for the last 20, 25 years. You get rid of a coach, 9, 10 wins a season because he curses too much and he gets into the players' faces like Bo Pelini. And what have you done since then? Mike Riley, Scott Frost, who won a championship there, Nebraska born. And I'm kind of surprised it didn't work out, but it didn't work out. You want to make a big splash, go after Urban Meyer. I know people hate him. They want to trash him. He's got 3 championship rings. That's all I got to say. And if you don't want to get Urban Meyer, please, I will help you move. Get Matt Rule. We hate him in Charlotte. We don't want him in Charlotte. He's hated here. He's a terrible NFL coach. He's a great college coach. So Urban Meyer, Matt Rule, make a big splash and stop being so irrelevant.
Okay, before I give you your thing, subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, or Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. So with that said, Rick, give everybody your contact information.
You can find me on my website at www.charlottebats.com. You can sign our petition as we're trying to bring Major League Baseball to Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm also on Facebook again at Charlotte MLB, Charlotte Bats Baseball. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter, Charlotte Bats Baseball. Instagram is Charlotte Bats. I'm also on LinkedIn under Rick Curdy. And if you have any comments or questions, you can email me at cltbatsbaseball@gmail.com.
All right, and my parting shots can be relative to what this show is all about anyways. My parting shots are to all these big universities that aren't taking these smaller universities seriously. This almost looks like March Madness when you see a lot of these so-called mismatches, double-digit point spreads. Take these teams seriously, because if you don't, your program is going to be body slammed is what you're going to do. Like I said, Appalachian State, Georgia Southern, and Marshall gained an enormous amount of respect. And the victims of this particular were Texas A&M, Nebraska, as well as Notre Dame. So those are my parting shots. I gave you my contact information moments ago. So, folks, again, please subscribe to the South Florida YouTube channel. If you're watching it, you can easily just click us on, hit the subscribe button. It's all cheer up. But meanwhile, what a great crew here. And one last thing is, I don't know when I'll incorporate it. It's something I like to do, but I really take this partnership very strong with Sideline Sports. It really means everything to me. Jacob Pundit, Jennifer, Denzel Snipes, and Dom, and the rest of these guys out there as well. So be more and more of them coming in. So you never know, maybe at one point or another, if I decide to add a 5th person occasionally, and I repeat occasionally, I'll just reduce the amount of topics, because I feel that the relationship that we're building with Sideline Sports and the South Florida Tribune is nothing short of phenomenal and outstanding. And there's so many intelligent voices that the more intelligent voices I get on here, the more fun it becomes, because everybody deserves an opportunity to say what's on their mind, especially with some of the best topics out there. So meanwhile, what a great show tonight. Lots of good stuff to talk about. So on behalf of Rick Curdy, Jacob Christner, and JB Ellis, my name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. And we look forward to doing this doubleheader every single Wednesday. And we're glad that JB Ellis had a chance to go ahead and see it as well. So again, I hope I didn't miss anybody on the Sideline Sports thing that's involved. And we'll be adding more. And Jennifer, Lewis Matthews, and JB helped me get in contact with a lot of you guys. So, but I'm pretty eternally grateful for every person that I met and some of the ones that I have calls coming up over the next couple of days to expand the talent level that we have on our platform to go along with arguably the best sports outfit out there in that sideline sport. So, and another shout out to Eric Wilson, John Shearer as well. Those guys are great people, and Jake Malik. You guys do a phenomenal job out there. So once again, everybody, thank you very much for joining us on this edition of the Sports Exchange. We will catch you next Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
All right.
Later.